bring them to me alive and unspoiled.
Well, looks like a busy day at SEC headquarters, as well it should be. More than 2 weeks on from the collapse of FTX and Alameda Research, and still no one is under arrest. Billions of dollars of customers' money is gone. FTX's recent bankruptcy filing has revealed the chaos that was going on behind the scenes, and it's been obvious for some time now that those in charge were entirely unfit to be running anything larger than a hot dog stand.
To this day, I don't know why we did it, but we would all pay a price. It only took a minute, but in that minute, everything changed.
Or maybe not. And yet, despite it being clear that a whole lot of wrongdoing has taken place, those responsible still seem to be at large. In fact, just hours ago, crooked clown-in-chief Sam Bankman-Fried tweeted out that he would be, quote, speaking with @Andrew Sorkin at the @DealBook Summit next Wednesday, November 30th. That's the DealBook Summit being hosted in New York City by the New York Times. You know, the same New York Times that's been among a number of media outlets to give scam bankman fraud some weirdly tame coverage over the last couple of weeks. Incidentally, other DealBook speakers include Larry Fink, Janet Yellen, and Mark Zuckerberg. No wonder Sam's keen to attend. And if you fancy it too, then tickets are a snip at $2,400. Bring a friend. Anyway, in case you're wondering, Andrew Ross Sorkin has confirmed that this interview is actually happening. And yeah, he's right. There are indeed, quote, a lot of important questions to be asked and answered. Now, I for one would argue that those questions should really be being asked by a lawyer in front of a judge, rather than at some star-studded media summit, but hey, maybe that's just me. Anyways, something tells me that this interview is going to be conducted remotely, because if Sam does appear in person, I imagine there'll be a welcoming committee standing ready. Just a hunch. So then, just another day in crypto. A man ultimately responsible for losing billions of dollars, ruining the lives of countless people, and causing untold damage to an entire industry, remains at sufficient liberty to justify himself at some chin-stroking media junket. Meanwhile, Ross Ulbricht is in jail for perhaps the rest of his life. Now, SBF may be, quite rightly, the main lightning rod for criticism in all of this, but that's not to say he was acting entirely alone. Other names are in the frame for this catastrophe, and they have questions to answer too. Those who shared that weird and pricey penthouse-cum-polyamory playground in a nice part of the Bahamas with him. Those who are highly likely to have had at least some idea of what was going on. Those who therefore also share some responsibility for all this, and those who, funnily enough, are also, it would seem, not in jail yet either. So let's have a look at some of these folks and their roles in the big FTX Alameda meltdown. Before I go on though, I must credit the primary source for this video, which is this excellent Coindesk article that appeared a few days ago. It goes into a lot more depth than I'm able to here, and it's a must-read when you have the time. Coindesk, of course, also broke that initial story about Alameda's god-awful balance sheet, and it's ironic that its parent company, Digital Currency Group, is among those that's taken a nasty hit from this crisis. Check out our recent crypto market update here on Clips if you want to know more about that. Anyway, I digress. So, our first person of interest is Caroline Ellison, the Harry Potter-loving, one-time SBF dating former CEO of Alameda. 2 red flags right there, if you ask me. Caroline is the child of 2 MIT-based economists who appear, like SBF's parents, to have ties to SEC chairman Gary Gensler. She studied maths at Stanford and began heading up Alameda late last year alongside Sam Trabuco. More on him later. Now, Caroline's known SBF since their days working together at TradFi trading firm Jane Street Capital, and like him is also into maths, effective altruism, stimulants, communal living, and plugging holes in failing trading companies' balance sheets with customer money from elsewhere. Yes, it does seem that she was aware that this was going on, and that means she too has a lot of questions to answer. Now, little has been heard from Caroline since FTX and Alameda collapsed. There's a surprise. And her social media has gone quiet. Her tweets and blog posts have been combed through pretty thoroughly in the last few weeks, though, and contain musings such as, quote, "Nothing like regular amphetamine use to make you appreciate how dumb a lot of normal, non-medicated human experience is." Yep, this woman was running a high-volume trading company, folks. She's written quite a lot of other, often pretty nutty stuff, which, if I'm honest, I'd advise giving a miss. Caroline is now thought to be in Hong Kong, but that remains unconfirmed. She ain't under arrest, though, and again, to me, that is frankly incredible. Moving on. So, Sam Trabuco, who you'll recall served as co-CEO of Alameda with Caroline. In what may be some of the best timing in the history of crypto, Sam actually left Alameda in August this year, having scaled back his involvement with the company prior to that. He explained his decision in a long Twitter thread where he revealed that he'd been, quote, "spending a lot of time traveling, visiting friends and family, working on myself and whatnot. Also, I bought a boat. That's been cool. I needed to relax and I'm really, really happy." Well, I'm happy you're happy, Sam. Sam T is also a maths geek and has also known Sam BF for several years. He too has been noticeably quiet since everything kicked off, but it's not clear whether or not he knew about what was happening behind the scenes at FTX and Alameda, nor whether this knowledge prompted his departure. We sure as heck would love to get his thoughts on the whole business though, and sooner rather than later, por favor. His whereabouts are also unclear. Well, perhaps he's on his boat somewhere. I wonder who might be with him. Now, two chaps whose whereabouts are thought to be known are Gary Wang and Nishad Singh. So let's start with Gary, who along with SBF co-founded both FTX and Alameda, but has been a lot less visible than his Adderall-munching, politician-befriending, follicularly over-endowed colleague. In fact, not much is known about Gary, and he appears to have kept himself scrupulously out of the limelight. We do know a few things, though, and you'll begin to recognise a pattern emerging here. Gary is into maths, studied at MIT, appears to have links to effective altruism, and lived in the 10-person penthouse set up with SBF, Caroline, and others. As Alameda's CTO, he's also thought to be one of the people aware of the fact that customer funds from FTX were being transferred to Alameda. He worked at Google before joining up with SBF and is thought to have done a lot of coding of Alameda and FTX's platforms. He's also believed to be one of those under supervision in the Bahamas, along with SBF, with whom he shared a room at MIT. Maybe they'll be sharing another, less comfortable room before too long. Or, at this rate, maybe not. Anyways, last on our list is Nishad Singh, another long-term Alameda employee, effective altruism proponent, and longtime friend of SBF. Nishad was Alameda's Director of Engineering, having previously been at Facebook, where he worked on machine learning. He graduated from the University of California, Berkeley in 2017, having studied electrical engineering and computer science. He's probably into maths too, let's face it. He also shared the 10-person penthouse and is also believed to have known about the transfer of FTX's customer funds to Alameda, putting him on the naughty step too, along with SBF, Caroline, Gary, and maybe others. That step is getting rather crowded, isn't it? He is also under supervision in the Bahamas, apparently. And as a cherry on top, according to the bankruptcy filing, Nishad also received a $500 million loan from Alameda into the bargain. I wonder how much effective altruism saw of that. Now, according to the extraordinary interview that SBF recently did with a journalist at Vox, Gary and Nishad aren't taking this whole business all that well. Quote, "Gary is scared, Nishad is ashamed and guilty," which does suggest they at least appear to have grasped the seriousness of their situation. I can't imagine we'll be seeing them at the Dealbook Summit. More's the pity. By the way, guys, if you're watching this between the 24th and the 27th of November 2022, then you should be aware that we are currently having a Black Friday sale in Coin Bureau's merch store with up to 50% off all sorts of cool merch items like t-shirts, seed cards, beanie hats, water bottles, you name it. So go and check it out and see if you can bag yourself a good deal, because remember, Christmas ain't all that far away. So, there are indeed several others with whom the entire crypto community would like to have a few quiet words, ideally in a locked room, but who remain noticeably unarrested and uncharged with any misdemeanors, over a fortnight on from a disaster they appear to have helped cause. Now, that excellent Coindesk article I cited earlier talks about a few other members of SBF's inner circle too, so do check it out. Now, Sam Trabuco's role in all this is less clear, and so we should perhaps reserve judgment considering he left before all this went down. That said, I'd still be very interested to hear what he has to say. And as we all know, the wheels of justice can turn pretty slowly, and as the FTX bankruptcy filing has shown, there's a hell of a mess to be untangled before the whole truth can possibly be known. But nevertheless, it still boggles my mind how neither SBF, Caroline, Gary nor Nishad appears to have seen the inside of a jail cell yet. And the longer that situation continues, the more those in the crypto community and beyond are going to wonder exactly how that is all possible. Are SBF and his team of weird little familiars well connected enough to be able to dodge the worst of the consequences? Until they're hauled before a judge to face some lengthy questioning, speculation over that is only going to grow with every passing day.